What's up, everybody? Rothstein here, Betting Public Sports Show. I'm your beloved host, Fame Rothstein, a.k.a. Michael Snackson. Today's Friday, February 6, 2026. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Leave comments, share the video. Congratulations to all the recent, all the new NFL Hall of Famers that were announced earlier or later on Thursday. Drew Brees, former quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. He was originally in San Diego, then traded to New Orleans. He might even went to Miami for a minute. No, he didn't go to Miami. That's why Saban left. That's why Saban left and went back to college. But yeah, Drew Brees, Larry Fitzgerald, former wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals. You know, his dad is an NFL writer. No, not a writer. Fitzgerald's dad was a writer. Boston, David Boston, the other Arizona receiver back in the day. His dad was a NFL official, but Larry Fitzgerald's dad was a writer in Minnesota. So Fitzgerald, at practice with Moss and Jake Reed and Chris Carter. So he learned the ropes early. So good for him. Who else made it? Luke Kuechly, Cincinnati kid. Right here from the Republic of Cincinnati, St. X High School, St. Xavier High School. There were two people, and Roger Craig, former 49er running back. Honestly, I didn't think he was a Hall of Famer. I thought he was more of a system player. He had a unique running style, with the high knees and whatnot, but I just didn't think he was a Hall of Fame player. I thought it was more the system that was getting him off. But, shout out to him. That's no disrespect to him. Roger Craig, he did his numbers. He put up numbers. But, yeah, couple people that played for the Bengals that the city's kind of in an uproar over. Willie Anderson, former offensive tackle, and former quarterback Ken Anderson took the Bengals to their first Super Bowl in 1981 against the 49ers. I'll be honest with you, I was not, when I saw, I'll say Ken Anderson, when he was playing, I wasn't quite in my formative years, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. Then Boomer Esiason came in 84, 85, started to know the game a little more. So I'm gonna pass by. I'm gonna pass by on Ken. But Willie Anderson, when I saw him playing, I didn't feel like I was seeing a Hall of Fame. I just felt I was seeing a really solid, dependable NFL player. I didn't feel like I was seeing a Hall of Famer. No disrespect to him, because me and him had a little. We shared a few coarse words on Twitter, X, several months back. Shout out to Willie. I just didn't. I'm sorry. If there's a Hall of Damn Good, that Willie would be in that. If the Hall of Fame is A level, A minus, A, and A plus players, Willie was a B plus. To me, anyway. That's just my opinion. You may disagree. But I just want to talk real briefly on a little clip that's floating on social media of the Pivot podcast. Former NFL players, Fred Taylor, most known for the Jacksonville Jaguars in the mid-90s. Ryan Clark, most knownly for the Steelers, but he played for the Redskins or the Washington team. I think at the time they were the Redskins. And Channing Crowder, former Dolphins linebacker. Now, in the clip, they're basically talking to Bud Crawford, the boxer, about, Bud saying he retired. They were saying, how much, would it take him to get in the ring, or getting back in the ring. And Channing was like, what's it going to take you, 80, 100 million? To get back in the ring, and Bud said something, and Channing goes, hell, 100 million take my soul. And then Bud replies, well, you just showed your character, kind of a truculent response to what Channing was saying. But damn. And everybody's like loving Bud for saying that, that truculent ass shit that he said to the guy. And I'm not. I'm like, keep the shit in perspective. Bud Crawford has made $100 million in boxing already. His last fight against Canelo was $50 million. Bud is the man right now. He can command the prices. So he basically just driving up the price. He'll get back in there. Somebody throw him 100, 125. He'll go back in there. Trust me. But he can command that price like Floyd was doing a few years back. About 10 years back. I think Floyd's last 3 fights were like all 9 figures. What's his name? Pacquiao and a couple others. I think they were all 9-figure fights. Like Floyd was caking up big time on that Showtime contract. Bud's not under a contract. He's a little older than when Floyd got in it, but Bud's a little older. But like I said, he's the man in boxing right now, so he can command that. He's saying $100 million ain't enough. That's all he's saying. I ain't gonna get back in there for $100 million. I need a little more than that. He's not totally done. Shakur Stevenson and Tank, they're too little to fight him. They could never go to a conceivable catch weight to fight each other. To fight him, Shakur Stevenson and Tank. And then on Floyd's too old. It won't look good. He'll whip Floyd. Floyd's old. Almost 50. And then there ain't no really solid heavyweights, but the heavyweights these guys are massive. 250 pounds. Bud's 150, 160. They ain't finna see them. It ain't gonna be a conceivable catch weight. So he's just talking shit. But you gotta also keep it in perspective the fact that Channing Crowder played 6 years in the NFL, only made $13 million. Like 12 and a half. So, and plus he played in the era before NFL players got guaranteed contracts. So he, $100 million contract, that's out of the realm of possibility for him unless you were a quarterback. So, he's talking from that perspective. Hell yeah, I'll go out there, I'm telling you right now, somebody throw me $100 million, I'm doing pretty much anything. So I pretty much give my soul except doing some gay shit. I ain't, getting involved in that. That's not my game. No disrespect to the gay listeners that are listening or viewers. That's just not my game. I pretty much do, anything for $100 million except that. And then kill somebody, But, yeah, keep it in perspective what Channing's saying and who Channing Crowder is. This guy, like I said, 13, he basically averaged $2.5 million a year for an NFL linebacker, which is one of the most rigorous positions in sports on the field. Like a linebacker, NFL linebacker, if you're on the field, you're making contact with somebody. Or you're running. You're running, covering a pass, or you're filling a gap. You're taking on a lead block from a big-ass 330-pound lineman or a short, stocky-ass fullback that weigh about 250. You're taking on those types of hits. Yeah, $100 million, yeah. So keep that in perspective about Channing Crowder. Don't try to diss him. Don't try to diss him like that. What he did, what he was basically speaking from the heart. And kind of off the cuff. Like you said, $100 million, that's why he said it like that. Take my soul. Like a NFL player is going to probably, especially an NFL player of his era, is going to say that. Because like I said, if he wasn't in the league when they started doing guaranteed contract, either he was in the league when they wasn't giving guaranteed contracts, or he was in the league when they just started them. And they were partially guaranteed, a lot of them. And most of them were just quarterbacks. So, I ain't mad at you, Channing. I get it. I get what you're saying. That's this social media generation that tries to, backseat drive everybody. You know, just like Glorilla. You know, they're telling Glorilla she needs to help her family, but they were mad at Sebastian Telfair for helping his family, and he went broke doing it. You know, Glorilla looked her up. She's only been rapping for 2.5 years. She's only, you know, had a deal for 2.5 years to make that kind of money. So therefore, you know, she ain't got no, you know, she ain't made no real money in rap music. She ain't made no real money because everything she's doing is overhead and stuff. It's got to be recouped before she can start getting paid. So she ain't really able to help her family. But the sister said they only want $2,500. So, not a piece. They just want $2,500. So I'm sure she's got that. I'm sure she's got that. But then again, she might not. Hell, remember New Edition? You know, they first contract after being on the road, they was like $1 and some change each. It was like, damn. Never seen nobody get robbed like that. But I digress. Channing Crowder, I'm with you, brother. What about y'all? Are y'all on the fake righteous shit? I ain't doing that for $100 million. I got, you know, nope. You know, just get the fuck out of here. Are you doing that for $100 million? You going back at? Is he selling his soul for real? You know, everybody's got a price. Channing Crowder has basically said his price is $100 million. He'll get busy for you. Bud saying, nah, I'm the man. I need a little more than $100 million. You know, he ain't gonna get $150 or $200. But I guarantee somebody will kick him out 115, 125. If somebody's worth fighting. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, let me know. What do you think about that, huh? Did Channing Crowder play himself? Or did Bud play himself trying to be too righteous? The answer to these questions and more will be on the next episode of Soap. For some of y'all don't get that reference, but you got to be a certain age to get that. But hey, I'll holler back at you Saturday. I might have some pops Friday later today. I'll give you another video. But if not, look for me Saturday morning for some sports betting action, and look for me Sunday morning for some Super Bowl sports betting action. All right. But until then, everybody be well. Peace.